the story of Jesus is one of great love, sacrifice, and courage. It begins with the angel Gabriel appearing to a young woman named Mary, informing her that she will give birth to a child who will rule as king forever. This child, Jesus, is born in a humble stable, visited by shepherds, and guided by a star that leads wise men from the east to him. Throughout his life, Jesus performs miracles, feeding thousands with only a few small fishes and loaves of bread, healing the sick and even raising the dead. He dedicates himself to preaching and teaching the kingdom work that God sent him to earth to do, choosing 12 men as his apostles to help him in this mission. However, Jesus faces great adversity and hatred from some individuals, culminating in his arrest and trial by religious leaders. In a heartbreaking turn of events, his own apostles, in fear, flee from him when he needs them the most. Those who oppose Jesus led the charge against him, with lies being told and violence being wrought upon him. The people who once praised and followed him now turned against him, influenced by the wicked angel Satan the devil. In the end, Jesus is brought to trial where false accusations are made against him. He is spit on and hit with fists by those who once revered him. Even in this moment of suffering, Jesus shows great strength and courage. Amidst all this turmoil, one of Jesus' most devoted apostles, Peter, faces his own challenge. A servant girl identifies him as a follower of Jesus, and in fear, he denies it. The story of Jesus' life and the events leading up to his crucifixion are a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of great adversity and betrayal. It is a story that continues to resonate with people of all backgrounds and beliefs, inspiring hope and courage in times of hardship.
Moses, the son of Amram and Jochebed, was a significant figure in ancient history, particularly in the context of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. According to the Hebrew Bible Christian Chi-Ani Old Testament, Moses was born to Israelite parents from the tribe of Levi. However, due to an order from the Pharaoh to kill all male Israelite infants, Moses' parents had to take extreme measures to protect him. He was placed in a basket and floated on the river, eventually being discovered, and raised by the Pharaoh's daughter in the Egyptian court. As Moses grew up, he became aware of his Hebrew heritage and the suffering of his people who were enslaved by the Egyptians. It is believed that Moses was chosen by Yahweh, the Jewish God, to lead the Israelites out of slavery and towards the Promised Land. In this role, Moses played a pivotal role in the Exodus, guiding the Israelites through a series of miraculous events, including the parting of the Red Sea, which allowed them to escape from the pursuing Egyptians. Moses is also known for receiving the 10 Commandments from Yahweh God, which serve as a fundamental set of laws and moral principles for the Israelites. These commandments were given to Moses on Mount Sinai, establishing a covenant between Yahweh and the Israelites. In the Bible, the story of Moses is primarily found in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Exodus focuses on Moses' early life, including his upbringing in Egypt and his leadership in the liberation of the Israelites. On the other hand, Deuteronomy serves as Moses' farewell address to the Israelites, summarizing their journey and imparting final instructions before they enter the Promised Land. It is important to note that while Moses is recognized as a significant figure in Christianity, his origins and the context of his story lie in Judaism. Moses, as the first significant prophet of Yahweh and leader of his people, holds great importance in Jewish history. Later, when the Hebrew Bible Shakuten Damaiduiwar was incorporated into the Christian Old Testament, Moses also took on a prominent role in Christianity. To fully comprehend the narrative of Moses, the best source to consult is the Hebrew Bible. Particularly the Torah, the first 5 books. These books provide a comprehensive account of Moses' birth, his upbringing in Egypt, his leadership in freeing the Israelites from slavery, and his establishment of fundamental laws and structures for the Israelite religion and society. The story of Moses is not only significant in terms of religious and historical context, but also carries timeless lessons about freedom, faith, and the pursuit of a better future. His legacy continues to inspire millions around the world, making him a central figure in the shared traditions of Judaism, Christianity and Islam. In the beginning, there was the Word, and this Word was not just any ordinary word, but it was with God. And it was God. This Word was present from the very start, standing alongside God in the beginning of all things. All things that exist were made by this Word, and nothing was created without it. The Word held within it a source of life, a vitality that illuminated the lives of all humanity. It served as a shining light in the midst of darkness. But unfortunately, the darkness could not comprehend or understand it in this time. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. John came as a witness to testify about the light. He was not the light himself, but was chosen to bear witness to it. This light, the true light, brings illumination to every person
who enters the world.
Though this light was present in the world did not recognize or acknowledge it. It came to its own people, but they did not receive it. However, all those who did receive this light were given the power to become children of God, simply by believing in its name. These children of God were not born through physical means or human will, but they were born of God. And astonishingly, the Word, which was God, took on human form and dwelt among us. We had the privilege of witnessing the glory of the Word, the glory that belonged to the begotten Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. John, the witness, proclaimed with a loud voice that this light, the one who would come after him, was preferred and esteemed above him, even though he himself was older. Through this Word, we have received an abundance of grace, grace that keeps pouring out. While the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but the only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, has declared him, revealing the true nature of God to the world. The testimony of John, when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to question him, is as follows. John confessed without denial that he was not the Christ, the anointed one they were expecting. They asked if he was Elijah or the prophet, but John answered in the negative. Desiring an answer to relay to those who sent them, they asked John who he claimed to be. John declared that he was the voice of one crying in the wilderness, preparing the way for the Lord, just as the prophet Isaiah had foretold. The delegation sent a question. John consisted of Pharisees, individuals zealous for strict adherence to the law. They inquired why John was baptizing, if he was not the Christ, nor Elijah, nor the prophet. In response, John explained that he baptized with water, but there was one among them whom they did not recognize, the one who would come after John, the one preferred and esteemed far above him. John humbly proclaimed that he was unworthy to unfasten the strap of this person's sandal. These events took place in Bethabara, beyond the Jordan River, where John was baptizing. The following day, John spotted Jesus approaching him and declared, "Behold the Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world." John had foretold the coming of this man, saying, "After me comes a man who is preferred before me, for he was existentially before me." John admitted that he did not initially recognize Jesus, but he had been sent to baptize with water, so that Jesus might be revealed to Israel. John bore witness, saying, "I saw the Spirit descending from heaven like a dove, and it remained on him."
Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Think about it. If your child asks for bread, would you give them a stone? Or if they ask for a fish, would you give them a snake? Of course not. If you, despite your imperfections, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven things to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Be cautious of false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ferocious wolves. They may seem harmless, but their intentions are far from pure. It's important to be discerning, and not be fooled by those who are not what they appear to be.
On the seventh day, the Sabbath, of the Lord thy God, no work shall be done by you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, or your cattle, nor the stranger, within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, so that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God has given thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, nor his wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. These commandments are given to us by the Lord thy God for the betterment of our lives and the society in which we live. They serve as the foundation for moral and ethical living, guiding us to treat one another with respect, kindness, and fairness. They remind us to honor our parents, to be faithful in our relationships, and to avoid harming others through our actions or words. By following these commandments, we can create a community built on love, compassion, and integrity. We must strive to uphold these principles in our daily lives, recognizing the value of each individual and the importance of living in harmony with one another. As we observe the Sabbath and adhere to these commandments, we honor the teachings of the Lord thy God and contribute to a world filled with peace and righteousness.
After 2 days, the highly anticipated feast of the Passover and the unleavened bread was approaching. The chief priests and scribes, however, were not in a festive mood. Instead, their minds were consumed by a sinister plan. They searched for a way to seize Jesus using cunning and deceit, ultimately leading to his execution. But they knew that capturing Jesus during the feast would be risky. The people held him in high regard, and any disturbance during this sacred time could result in an uproar. So they decided to bide their time and wait for a more opportune moment. Meanwhile, in the town of Bethany, at the house of Simon the leper, a remarkable event unfolded. Jesus sat down to enjoy a meal when a woman appeared, clutching an alabaster box of ointment. The fragrance of precious spikenard filled the air as she broke the seal, pouring the ointment onto Jesus' head. As the scent of the ointment permeated the room, some onlookers found themselves indignant. They questioned the woman's actions, exclaiming, "Why was this ointment wasted? It could have been sold for a significant sum, more than 300 pence. That money could have helped the poor." Their murmurs of disapproval cascaded through the room, casting a shadow over the gesture of devotion. But Jesus, always attuned to matters of the heart and the intentions behind actions, swiftly intervened. "Let her be," he commanded, his voice gentle yet firm. "Why do you trouble her? She has performed a noble and admirable deed. This act of pouring the precious ointment on my head is a beautiful expression of her love and reverence towards me." Jesus understood the value of genuine acts of love and devotion, even if they seemed unconventional or impractical to others. He recognized that this woman had shown him honor in the purest form, a gesture worthy of praise. Her action, though seemingly extravagant, held a deeper significance and touched his heart. In a world driven by material wealth and self-interest, Jesus reminded those gathered that true acts of love and devotion were more valuable than any material possession. The act of pouring the ointment on his head symbolized a selfless offering, an outpouring of love that transcended worldly concern. And so, amidst the skepticism and disapproval of some, Jesus defended the woman's action, acknowledging her good work and reminding those present of the power of love, sacrifice, and reverence. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the countryside, there lived a man named Thomas. Thomas was a poor man, born into a family that struggled to make ends meet. From a young age, he was no stranger to hardship and adversity. Thomas grew up in a ramshackle hut, surrounded by poverty and destitution. His parents, both uneducated and burdened with the weight of their own misfortunes, could barely provide for their children. Thomas knew hunger intimately, as meager meals were a luxury in his household. But even in the face of such adversity, Thomas refused to let his circumstances dictate his future. He possessed a burning ambition, a relentless determination to overcome the obstacles that life had thrown his way. Thomas dreamt of a life beyond the confines of poverty, a life filled with prosperity, success, and abundance. Despite the lack of resources, Thomas pursued knowledge with unwavering passion. He understood that education held the key to unlocking a better life. Through sheer grit and determination, he taught himself to read and write, devouring every book he could find. Thomas's hunger for knowledge was insatiable, matching the hunger that had plagued him in his early years. Day after day, Thomas toiled in the fields alongside his fellow villagers. Through backbreaking work, he earned enough to support his family, even if it meant sacrificing his own needs. The road to success was not easy, as setbacks and disappointments often tested his resolve. But Thomas remained steadfast, refusing to accept defeat. As the years went by, Thomas's hard work and perseverance began to pay off. Guided by his self-taught knowledge and determined spirit, he started a small business, crafting handmade goods that captured the essence of the countryside. His products became highly sought after, not only in the village, but also in neighboring towns. Word of his talent spread like wildfire, and soon enough, Thomas's humble name became synonymous with quality and craftsmanship. With each success, he reinvested his earnings into expanding his business, creating job opportunities for other struggling families in the village. Thomas's journey from poverty to prosperity inspired the entire community. He had proven that with determination, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the power of education, one could rise above their circumstances and achieve greatness. The villagers rallied behind Thomas, supporting his business and basking in the pride of his accomplishments. Today, Thomas's small village has transformed into a thriving community thanks to his indomitable spirit and relentless pursuit of a better life. His story serves as a reminder that no matter how daunting the challenges may seem, there is always hope for a brighter future. Thomas's legacy lives on as a beacon of inspiration for all those who dare to dream of a life beyond poverty and adversity.